We are currently in the most perfect time of year to visit Montana. I basically have to suffer through 10 months out of the year to get 2 really beautiful months here. But right now it feels totally worth it.
Boy Zig. Boy Zig. Hi Zig. Ciao. Boy Zig.
I've been slowly transitioning Scarlet and Ziggy over to more pasture time. In a few days, they'll start to spend the whole entire day out on the pasture and the boys will go out at night. So far, Scarlet has only given me a few little scares, but overall she's doing really well for her first time out on a regular fence.
Whoa girl, whoa girl. Oh there, mama.
The grass looks nice and lush right now, but eventually it will get really dry and crispy, so I decided today was the day I needed to take down all of this cheat grass. There is a pretty large area of it in the boys' pasture. I'm gonna have to go back and look at my videos from last year because I definitely don't remember it being here last year.
Boys.
It looks like the boys are impatiently waiting for me to turn them out for this afternoon.
Mater.
The one thing that I'm still working on with Scarlet as far as training goes is getting her to come in when the pasture time is over. Right now, these two are at between 3 and 4 hours of pasture time every day in the morning. I like to turn all of my horses out on the early morning grass first because there is less sugar in it, and as I observe them and check to make sure they're not getting any soreness in their feet, I will switch them over to the evening grass. As you can see from the video, Ziggy is not missing any meals. He comes right in to get his special little snack, but Scarlet has not quite figured out that she needs to come back in the way that she goes out every morning. I don't have a quote-unquote gate in this pen, so anywhere there's a panel I can open it and have her slip in. I know I'm probably going to get a few questions about why I don't just have a walk-through gate, and I've seen several horses get hurt on those. They tend to have a bar that runs across the ground, and when the footing is not good, they can slide and catch their foot underneath that part, so I'd rather just have a panel that I can open up. After I get Scarlet and Ziggy in, I'm going to go get Goose and Studman in the barn for the day. These two have been staying out in the arena at night and a little bit during the day until it gets too hot. This makes it so much easier for them to get their special meals. Studman does look like he's continuing to slim down, and I'm not sure that Goose's diet is working quite yet. I think he's going to need some exercise before that happens. One thing that I am continuing to keep an eye on is how Gus is doing out on the pasture with these boys. Gus is one of the harder horses to manage because he can be sensitive to the sugars in the grass, but he also has PSSM, so it really helps if he can get out and walk around as much as possible. I have noticed since I've been extending these boys' graze time to later in the day that he is getting a bit more sore. Today I am trying to separate all these horses out and leave Gus in the dry lot so I can catch him and bring him in if his feet are too sore. I'm also going to check the status of his muscles. He hasn't had any episodes of tying up recently. He does a really good job at self-regulating out in the pasture, so even when the other horses are galloping around and playing, he'll go for a little while, but then he'll just kind of mosey around because I think he knows he's going to be tired and sore if he continues to play. If I do decide to bring him in the barn, then I'll have to put him on some kind of exercise schedule to make sure that his muscles are staying nice and loose. Gus is a really nice horse to ride, but it is a fine line between the right amount of work and too much work for this horse. While it's not more expensive to keep Gus in tip-top shape, he does require a lot more thoughtful management than some of the other horses. Today he's looking about as sound as he usually is, so I'm going to let him go out with the boys until probably I switch them out to overnight pasture. This part of the year, early summer, when I'm rotating all of the horses through their different pasture arrangements, can be tricky for me to squeeze in fun things in the morning. Today I'm going to continue to try and get this cheat grass knocked down. Ideally I would like to get it off of this field, but I think that is something I'm going to have to plan for next year. I've noticed the boys have really liked going into the very far pasture and snacking out there first. The neighbor does have a pretty serious irrigation system and it does spray onto parts of their pasture, so that is definitely their favorite part to hang out in. As I'm going through and cutting down all of this cheat grass, here's what it looks like when the seed heads are dried out. So this stuff can get stuck in the horse's teeth and gums. But I have been noticing that all of this cheat grass is kind of gathered where the water melts and comes through from all the neighboring properties during the spring. This area right here used to be part of the dry lot, so it was probably just a whole lot easier for it to take hold. I went around the pasture and it seemed like I was mowing an awful lot of this stuff down. There's not too much grass out here in the pasture I use for Scarlet and Ziggy. This year is going to be the first year where I didn't do any overseeding to any of the pastures. I've been at this property for about 10 years, and every time we go look at a place that has terribly overgrown pastures, I just remember how much time and effort it takes to get something like this back in tip-top shape. Our property hunt has been pretty frustrating lately. We have a really fabulous realtor in Montana.
Boy Zig.
With the weather and the prices lately, it is looking more and more unrealistic for us to stay in Montana, which is totally fine, but it is a little bit more tricky to find the perfect place when you're not in the actual state you're trying to move to. Today, we're having a powwow with our realtor in Colorado to hopefully get a better handle on what we're looking for. That took up a lot more time than I had expected, and I finally make it back to the barn for the evening feeding.
You hungry, Ziggo?
When the horses finally start going out on the pasture for most of the day, I do switch them over to a either grass or grass alfalfa mix. Compared to the straight alfalfa that I feed them in the winter, they definitely don't need the extra calories this time of year. While Ziggy has gained a ton of muscle mass since I got him, he is now starting to look a little bit too round for my taste. Since it is very likely that this will be our last summer in Montana for a while, I've been trying to take a little bit of time each day just to hang out and enjoy the nice weather. Thankfully, it seems like Tiny is getting a little bit lax this time of year.
Come on, Gussie.
After seeing Scarlet and Ziggy get their dinner, the boys reluctantly make it back into their dry lot.
Come on, Stewie.
Stu is almost always the last horse in. It looks like they are exhausted, but they'll have all night to finish their little alfalfa snack in here. And even though they are literally covered in tiny little poop particles, these horses are still looking super shiny and healthy.
Hey, Peter. Hi, Pete.
One of the consequences of getting these horses out on the grass in the spring is their feet do grow a lot faster.
Gus.
All of these boys are due for a little bit of a hoof trim, so I'll probably get those done in the next couple of days. For some reason, Pete's feet grow extremely fast this time of year compared to even the other horses. After turning Goose and Studman out for the evening, I'm gonna head home and do more house stuff. I'm feeling a little bit of deja vu this year again because we basically did this whole song and dance last year, but I'm really hoping by fall we'll be in a new place.
Hey, Mare.
Every morning I start the day by going out and checking on Pearl and Emily. Pearl has been doing really good in her retirement pasture in the back. I have been having a little bit of trouble switching her over to grass. She is a lot more sensitive than the other horses. The last thing I want is for her to get laminitis or to founder, and since she did have evidence of that when I bought her, it is better to be safe than sorry. As soon as I get to the barn, I turn Scarlet and Ziggy out. Besides the first couple of days, these two have actually been very chill out on the pasture. They are happy just to start munching away instead of running around crazily. Sometimes, however, they do spend a few minutes stretching their legs early in the morning.
Hey, Mare.
It's really nice to see these two getting along so well out on the pasture. Compared to last year when Ziggy was turned out with some of the boys, he seems a lot more relaxed.
Hi, Zig.
While Scarlet does have bursts of energy every now and then, she is also being very chill.
Tiny.
This afternoon, I am heading out to pick up that special grass hay for the horses, so I'm really hoping that the weather holds out. Thankfully, the sky opened up and it was really nice weather out for me to go get the hay. This time of year, the days kind of blend together and I get into my routine. The boys are now staying out overnight all night long, and Ziggy and Scarlet are out in their little pasture during the day.
Hey, boys.
Depending on the weather, Studman and Goose will be outside or in the barn with Prim and Frisco Bill. These days, Frisco is spending more time with
Frisco.
Nigel away from Prim, and it seems to be calming his mind a little
Come on,
bit.
boy.
This is the first year that he is really starting to act like an old man and is definitely feeling the effects of his age.
Hey, old boy. Goosey. Goosey. Nigel. Come on, Stuntman. Honey?
After herniating a few discs in my neck this winter, it has been starting to feel a lot more normal. Unfortunately, the thing that seems to bother me the most is doing actual riding things. Something about the compression and sitting on a horse bouncing around does not feel good at all. I think most people that ride horses have a time when they realize that the injuries that they sustained are going to be better off if they let them heal fully. It's pretty obvious when I go to ride that it's not 100% better. If I'm up there too long, then my hand will start falling asleep. Like a few of the horses, I'm starting to get a little bit soggy around the midsection because I don't want to sit all summer without doing anything with the horses. I think I'm going to start and dip my toes into learning Liberty. When dealing with these hard to handle horses, I always end up inadvertently doing things at Liberty just because they do typically have some trouble with accepting touch. I'm trying really hard to give my body the time it needs to heal, but my brain is really wanting to do more with the horses. You can learn little bits and pieces from every discipline, and I think Liberty is going to add a little something special to my training program. One of the horses that I'm really excited to try Liberty on is Goose. I haven't shown too many training specific videos on Goose. He is very much like Pete and lacks a lot of confidence around people. Even though I've had him for a number of years, I don't really ride him very much. I think at this point he's probably more reactive than Pete most days. I think part of Goose's troubles is how he was raised. He was actually born and raised on a 20,000 acre ranch in Montana. It is pretty common for these range bred horses to be a little bit wary of people just because they don't see them as often. While I don't think Goose was ever outwardly abused, I do think that a lot of the traditional training that most horses are exposed to is just too much for him. Every once in a while, he'll still get the scares even doing simple things. He is definitely the kind of horse that if you reprimand too aggressively, then he just gets scared and his brain completely shuts down. Even something as simple as having me move his haunches over when he's tied up here in the barn can trigger a little bit of a panic attack from this guy. It can be hard to explain a horse's threshold to non-horse people, but Goose is one that has a very low threshold, so he can be exposed to things that most horses are completely fine with, but in Goose's little horse brain, he actually thinks he's going to die. Handling a horse like Goose or Pete does take a lot of patience. In the wrong hands, these horses can be extremely dangerous, and more often than not, they do find themselves at the horse auction. Goose was dropped off at the sale by a professional horse trainer that decided he was too much work to try and train. I do think horses like this are trainable, but getting them into the right home afterward is extremely difficult, and most trainers do not have the luxury of just keeping one around like this for fun. One of the promises I made myself pretty early on in my horse training career was that I didn't ever want to make a decision about a horse's training based on money, which is extremely hard to do if you're making that your living. Horses like Goose and Pete are my absolute favorite kind of horses to train. But in the industry, these horses are ones that would typically get sent home from training or sent straight to the sale. It was always hard for me to see horses like this come and go through training programs because they really are not the best place for a horse like this to learn. They tend to do a lot better when they can be out on pasture and with friends instead of inside of a stall. They typically take a lot more patience than most horse trainers have these days. I am in a really unique position now where I don't have to rely on a regular job to make money since I'm doing it all on YouTube these days. The horses are basically paying for themselves, so they can have as much time as they want to feel comfortable here. I'm trying to stay really positive about my neck continuing to improve, but until then, I think I'm going to focus on Liberty with a few of these horses, and that will be including Mr. Goose. I have been doing little bits of pretty boring training with him as I bring him in and turn him out every day. I have found these tiny little 5-minute training sessions to be perfect for a horse like Goose. You just work them into your regular daily routine, and before you know it, you're doing training without even thinking about it. This morning, all I was wanting Goose to do was to relax and lower his head, which is something that he does know how to do. Unfortunately, Goose still has a lot of stress around any kind of training, and right off the bat, he gets very, very nervous. So sometimes things that take regular horses no time at all take him a little bit of extra preparation. Eventually, he remembers that this is not a big deal at all, and he quietly stands and puts his nose all the way to the ground. Even when I take his halter off and release him, he is not quite sure what he's allowed to do. After dealing with a lot of horses like Goose, I have found that sometimes they do lack the bravery to do things on their own. Unlike a horse like Stewie, who is pretty confident about everything that he does, a horse that has been trained in a more aggressive manner is going to have a hard time doing things on their own.
You awake?
It does take a lot of time and patience, but I found eventually they do come around if they're treated right. Unfortunately, it doesn't take these horses very much to regress back to a more scared state. So if you have a quick temper and are not very patient, these horses are definitely not for you. It looks like Tiny is feeling extra sassy this morning.
Come on.
I'm here a little bit extra early because I have a lot of things I want to get done today. We do have another place to look at this afternoon. It is at the very, very tippy top of our budget, so we have to make sure that it doesn't need too much work to make it livable for us. In addition to some pretty slow, easy training with some of the more fractious horses, I have been trying to spend more time with Frisco these days.
Come on, old boy.
I've noticed he's been having a little bit of a hard time coming in and going out of his stall. I think I'm going to have to remove some of those boards just to make it a little bit easier for him. He's been getting his special mash with some vitamins to help with his feet. His feet are doing a lot better, but he does seem really body sore these days, which is something that really hasn't bothered him in the past, but he is a 30-year-old horse, which I keep trying to remind myself. It looks like he's due for another bath pretty soon. He's kind of a gross little horse, and he always has been. I might get to it today, but I think these two old boys are going to have to wait until tomorrow to get bathed.
Nigel.
Lately, I've been feeling really terrible about not posting any videos of actual riding for you guys. I know eventually my neck will get better, we will find the perfect property, and I'll be able to finally enjoy all of these horses at my own place. I am constantly reminded, especially because I put so much on the internet, that this lifestyle is a privilege even when you are just going around and doing chores.
Girlfriend. There. Zig. Come on, stuntman. Come on, buddy. Nigel. Come on, Tiny.
Thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.